Hi, my name is Alonso Castro. I'm a designer, technologist, and artist. I'm going to talk to you about the contents of this presentation. Who am I? My career, what is a design technologist? What will you learn in a design technology program? What jobs you will find for design technologists? Some of the design practices in the industry. And I would like to demonstrate how design technology is influenced by all of the other industries. Let's see. So who am I? Like I said, I'm a designer, technologist, and artist. I have many skills that span a wide variety of disciplines, and I lean towards experience design, interaction design, and speculative design. And I use a bunch of different technologies, such as artificial intelligence and machine learning. I find it really important to study design processes and research and problem-solving methods applied to a variety of use cases. I'm also an artist, and all of my work is usually related to my personal experiences as an immigrant to the United States, as well as in gastronomy, agriculture, and women's rights. So I'll talk to you about my career fun facts. I studied design with a concentration in digital arts, so stop motion animation, printmaking, 3D animation, painting. I've also studied sociology and anthropology, and I've worked in many industries. I've worked in editorial design, publishing, marketing, fabrication, and even manufacturing for large industries. In New York City, I've done design consultancy for technology startups developing new products. I got a master's degree in design and technology at Parsons School of Design. Then I worked for tech and innovation team at Verizon, which is a telecommunications company. And I worked as a product designer using a bunch of different technologies like mixed reality and artificial intelligence. And then for the past 2.5 years or 3 years, I've been working in a purely design team aiming to create better and trusting experiences for Verizon's customers. So these are just tiny little examples of like the experiences that I've had throughout my career, from starting after university studies for a wedding magazine, so designing all the advertising for wedding magazines. Then I've done consultancy work for tech startups. In this case, it was a startup selling smart mirrors. And then lastly, that's my last exhibit project called The Expelled, about issues of immigration in the United States. So what is a design technologist? I want to walk you through first what is a designer, what is a design technologist, and what is a creative technologist. So first, designer. What is a designer? In this example, I have wireframes that relate to UX design. UX designer is in charge of designing interactive digital products and environments and systems and services. For example, a service like Apple or Google selling like data plans and things like that. So those are services. Design technologist right here is a designer who can also write code, but has a general knowledge of design usually. But besides the general knowledge of design, really knows how to analyze the impact of technology into a product or service. And the third one is a creative technologist. Many artists are actually consider themselves creative technologists because it's a role related to smaller companies, startups, design agencies, and it's a little bit more experimental and more receptive towards critical thinking and exploration of products and installations and things like that. So what will you learn in a design technology program? literally hundreds of things. You will learn how to build physical objects and products like the Eyewriter, which uses eye tracking software built into tiny cameras that would map out eye movements. And in this case, it was a project that was made for a graffiti artist who couldn't move himself anymore. He was in a hospital. And the project artists started basically created these eyeglasses to help him be happier and encounter his passion of being a graffiti artist. So these glasses would track his movements, and he started drawing with his eye movements. And all of these eye movements were projected onto the streets. And it was a really happy moment for this person who was an artist and couldn't move anymore. So you could also learn how to code movement trackers and design projection mapping to create interactive installations. In this case, this image is from Connected Worlds, which is an installation at the New York Hall of Science. It's done by Theo Watson and his collaborators. And basically, children are able to just move around this environment, changing the way waterfall is coming down from a mountain. They can use their hands to pet the animals. They can feed the animals. And the environment would change based on the health of the installation. So if no one pays attention to the installation, then it starts slowly dying. And then when children start, feeding the plants, feeding the animals, changing the water patterns, then it becomes more lively. Also, you can learn basic systems engineering, like in this image, connected to hardware. And so in this installation, Evan Roth, he took a video of landscapes, and these were all filmed in infrared from places around the world where the internet cables come from under the ocean. And the project's called Red Lines. It's really beautiful. Then you can also create code and start making programs to draw your movements, for example. Zach Lieberman, he created a coding program called Open Frameworks, and it's widely used. Companies like Google and Facebook have used this coding program to create new products, but also it's used by artists and by designers as well. And then finally, we have another image of clothing. You can make interactive clothing, and it's something that you can also learn at a design technology program, how to connect circuits to create clothing. This is by a design studio called Covacant, and they collaborate on projects that use soft circuits. That's the name of the concentration. So what are jobs for design technologists? So common jobs are in you can find many jobs in a wide variety of industries like Apple, Google, and Amazon, like the largest ones, or even Facebook. But at the same time, especially in the United States, you can work at the New York Times, at Verizon, where I work at Potion Design, which is a little bit more experimental. You can work at universities like Parsons, Harvard, and MIT. For example, MIT collaborated on creating the internet. So you will have a chance to work in at an organization that has a really long history of technology and design and innovation. So some projects like this one, it's maybe not many people have heard of it, but it's really important in the industry. It's Google's Grasshopper app, and basically it teaches children how to write JavaScript code. Then we have the Pure Imagination project by a company called The Mail, and they did a commercial for Audi, the car company, And this commercial uses 3D scanning to communicate the capabilities of the car and the technology in the car. So it's really interesting. Then the company called Potion Design, like I mentioned before, it's an experimental design agency, and they created Shop Life, which is part of the Tenement Museum in New York City. And it portrays the history of shopping in New York City in the early 20th century. And then even larger projects that have a lot of technology, a lot of interior design, a lot of architectural design. This is the 9/11 Memorial Museum in downtown New York City. This was done by a company called Local Projects, where they designed a series of interactive installations, video series, audio pieces, and they arranged many historical pieces from a really sad moment in history to communicate the emotional, history of the attacks. And it's a big tourist attraction, but it's very educational as well. So now we're getting deeper into more of what a design technology is. So these are the design practices in the industry nowadays. There are many more, but these are sort of like the standards. And this is sort of the breakdown of a design team at a larger company. A person might concentrate on one, or might have a lot of skills to work on 1, 2, or 3, and so forth. What is a design researcher? Basically, a design researcher gathers, analyzes, informs, and applies research to improve a product that is going to be launched, and makes sure that this product has all the background information to better the customer experience. So design researcher might conduct moderated tests, might perform concept testing, might interview people, might go and do ethnography, which is the study of social interactions, but might also do academic research, which is talking to people at universities that study things related to a particular product that this design researcher might be interested in. A design strategist. A design strategist, it's a person that uncovers new opportunities. It's basically a person that is a little bit more connected to a business rather than design, but it's part of a design team, usually. This person would define new products and the visions of these new products and the models of these new products. So it's a little bit on the business and economic side of things. But then it's in charge of communicating with business people, but also with design teams. What is an interaction designer? So like I said a little bit, a UX designer, it's related to interaction design, and it's back and forth. Actually, interaction design, it's a more concentrated portion of UX design. It's a person who analyzes and translates business and customer needs into simple experiences that can fulfill complex systems and services. So an interaction designer is goal-driven, meets user expectations, and makes sure that things are usable. So understanding how, for example, how front-end interfaces and experiences interact together, or might help how user flows are impacted by customers, or how customers are impacted by user flows, for example, if I'm trying to purchase clothing on a website, there are certain types of steps that I have, that a designer might have done for me to accomplish to be able to purchase everything correctly without any mistakes. What is a visual designer? Well, a visual designer, it's really what you see, let's say, on a website or on an app, or on even a smart the new smart speakers have little screens as well. So basically, a visual designer creates user interfaces that can communicate things through the process of typography, hierarchy, and also applies directions from an interaction designer. And usually those are communicated by like how to make something accessible. So for example, if I can't see really well and I'm wearing my glasses, how would I purchase, in this case, clothing on a website? So for example, certain buttons or certain forms on this particular website would have a lot of contrast difference, so then a person with low vision could also purchase things. Content design. So a content designer or a copywriter is usually a person who is aligned to a brand style and voice and tone. Content designer helps potential and existing customers achieve their objectives. So basically, if there's good communication on your designs, then the customer might understand better how to approach certain things. And finally, design technologist. So a design technologist is a person who would have skills related to all the previous design practices, but also knows how to code. Design technologists who have really good UX skills, for example, but also will be able to write front and back end code, and even have design strategy approaches to technology, so he or she could communicate with at the business level with business stakeholders at a larger company. What are important skills to learn? It is always important to practice things that you might already know. So if you know how to draw, you should keep drawing. If you know how to paint, keep painting. Sculpting, reading, sewing, photo editing, just keep practicing things that you're interested in. And it doesn't matter what kind of design practice you end up doing, as long as you're a creative person and want to expand your knowledge. But yeah, you can, for example, photo or video editing software is really important, like Photoshop and Premiere Pro, for example. If you want to get into UX and UI design, it's always important to know Sketch, which is a software, and also Adobe Illustrator. But if you want to use your hands, then you can learn how to do woodworking, you can do metalwork. Anything that is creative is useful. Whatever interior design, it's also very important, so it trains your eye and your vision towards placements of things. Perhaps 3D modeling, it's actually really interesting nowadays for a variety of industries. If you like computers and websites and mobile applications, you can always learn basic coding, but it's not really a key factor. You can learn any coding or programming skills in the future. There is no rush as long as you have your base knowledge. It's what matters the most. How is it like to study design technology at Parsons? So basically, try to remember all these words, things such as Internet of Things, motion graphics, Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, programs like Open Frameworks, P5.js, Swift, JavaScript, etc. So besides design courses related to theory, process, and aesthetics, which are always a must in in a design school program. In a design technology program, you will learn this more technical skills in software and hardware, but as well as critical thinking. There are some designers that are also artists like myself, so there's a chance that you can express yourself without creating a product necessarily. So for example, teratogenesis, you would make something like this. It's an art piece, but it's also using technologies that large companies are using as well. So this is a short opera that centers the landscape on a stage, and all the voice of the opera is it's computerized. Beyond Me, by designer Jasmine Oh. It's a web platform that allows people to curate and personalize messages with their family, and this is a virtual reality project. So basically, it's like a social network, but for memories that people can visit using virtual reality. Perfect Eggplants Don't Exit. This is by designer Mikey Juan, and he created this virtual reality gaming experience, and it's about attaining an ideal body image and failing to attaining that perfect body image. Then Fitness by Taylor Rodriguez. It's a product actually, and it's an app that aims to combat sedentary lifestyles by increasing activity at home. So from being active in your living room, but maybe doing other types of exercises, and it's all through a set of guidelines. Inspiration by Jane Mitchell gives the opportunity for young girls to learn about bioscience and sustainability by using your hands. So she created a bunch of different kits, and these kits lets girls and boys to create bio accessories and jewelry. So you can create a ring made out of like basically plant-based jewelry and things like that. So it's really interesting. So this last one is called Gastro. It's by me, and it's a fine dining interactive installation and short film that includes artificial intelligence food machines related to a future where there's no food to eat or grow. So it's a little bit about climate change and a reality in which things can really change from today into the future. So this is my presentation. Thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any questions for me. Yeah, so the difference between UI design and UX design or interaction design, which I've explained, basically it's very simple. A UX designer would plan how something would work and how a customer might interact with that thing or product that you're creating as a UX designer. And the UI designer or visual designer is the person who basically is in charge of color, typography, hierarchy, layout, and is the person who communicates directly to a customer how something is thought of. And the question about coding, it is very important to learn how to code, especially nowadays, but it's not critical. So if you study UX design, you might want to learn a little bit of code, but it's not necessary. If you want to study design technology, on the other hand, you will learn how to code. You will definitely learn how to code, and you will also have all the design skills for UX design and for UI. So yeah, I think that, like I mentioned a little while ago in my presentation, the skills that you want to learn are very similar to things that you might learn in high school, actually. Drawing, painting, sculpting, photo editing, anything that helps you learn layout of things, or how things, or even the process of how you make something. So even writing is really important as a skill in a design field, because you need to document things for people to understand you. You have to create guidelines, for example. So if you create, let's say, if you are into photo editing, document what you did while doing photo editing. So that would translate in a company as like, what if I am creating a system that other designers can use? So I need to make sure that I write guidelines and rules for these people to understand me. So it's an important skill to learn. So whatever you think is creative, if you like drawing, like I said, sculpting, painting, writing, it's really important skill. If you want to get a little bit more into technology, photo editing, video editing, these are also really important. So for beginners to learn first, I think it's really important to get into Photoshop, Premiere Pro. Usually editing softwares are really important. For a UX designer and visual designer, Sketch and Adobe Illustrator are widely used, and there's so much information online and offline written to teach people how to use this. So a design technologist actually has a wide variety of opportunities. It's a very new design practice in many industries. A design technologist has the advantage of knowing the influence of technology and knows how to do programming and coding, but also has all the design skills. So a design technologist might work at large companies like Amazon and Google and Facebook, or at experimental design companies, creating installations for other companies. In healthcare, in art, in like museums, for example, in the technology companies that I just mentioned, in universities. So there's a wide variety of opportunity. It's very new, it's always growing, and we need more people like me to work in other industries. The advice is that it doesn't really matter what you're interested in as long as you're really interested. I was lucky enough to study design and then study design technology, like I showed in my presentation. But I know many design technologists that come from science programs that maybe wanted to be doctors and then they didn't want to be doctors, but then they used that knowledge once they started studying design technology. If you have a passion for video gaming or gaming in general, you can be a design technologist in a gaming field. So you can create games for children, for adults. You can create physical games, digital games. So whatever your passion is, if you like writing, you can study design technology as well. If you like video production and photo editing, you can also study design technology. Even if you really enjoy mathematics, that might really help you so much to learn how to do programming and code, because of the logic behind mathematics, and even physics might help you too. Or one of my last examples was bioscience. So biotechnology is another growing field. So whatever you're interested in, keep doing it, and as long as you find passion, you might learn the skills later. So that's it. So the design technology program is it's in the top 5 best design and technology programs in the world. This program, it's very widely known because of the variety of people in the community that it has. Like I said previously, people that come from science, people that come from music, people that come from theater, and they all create this large community of designers with different concentrations and different types of knowledge and different passions. And yeah, so it's a really interesting program. You might learn, if you like fashion even, you might learn how to create interactive fashion pieces and clothing. If you like theater, what if you create a software that does all the visuals and all the lighting for a theater company? So you might learn things like that as well, or even games, virtual reality, it's a growing field. So what if you can create something in virtual reality? So what makes the program so great is the variety of concentrations that you can learn. Well, thank you very much for these questions. I hope my answers were helpful. If you have any more questions, please contact me at any time about the Design and Technology program at Parsons, about art, or about design in general. Thank you.